Some time ago, in the humid dust-settled street of Asaba, there lived a man named Chidi. Chidi was a man who had forgotten the meaning of the word rest. At 32, his face bore the deep lines of a man 20 years older. He was the first son of late Pa Walters. But in his own home, he had become a ghost that worked to feed the living. When Pa Walters died, he left behind a small bungalow, a few acres of land, and a fractured family. Chidi and his stepmother, Mama Obinna, with her only son, Obinna. On the night of the funeral, while the embers of the ceremonial fire were still glowing, Mama Obinna had sat Chidi down. "Your father is gone," she had said, her voice like sandpaper. Obinna is the one with the brain for books. He has bright eyes. If he doesn't go to the university in Lagos, this family will rot in this village. You are strong, Chidi. Your hands were made for the soil. Work so that your brother can fly. And Chidi, with a heart as wide as the Niger River, had agreed. For 4 years, Chidi's life became a cycle of pain. By 5 a.m., he was at the sawmill, his lungs filling with fine wood dust as he carried massive planks that made his spine to pop. By 6 p.m., when other men were heading to the palm wine joint to laugh away the day, Chidi was changing into a faded, oversized uniform to start his shift as a night security guard at a warehouse. Every kobo he earned was split into 2 unequal piles. The small pile was for garri and salt for himself and Mama Obinna. The large pile was sent to Lagos. He remembered the day Obinna came home for the holidays after his second year. Obinna stepped off the bus wearing a designer shirt Chidi had paid for, smelling of expensive cologne and city life. He looked at Chidi's calloused, oil-stained hands with a slight flinch of disgust. "Brother, you should try to wash better," Obinna had said, checking his reflection in his new smartphone. Another requirement Chidi had worked overtime to buy. Lagos people value hygiene. "When you come to visit me after I graduate, I don't want my friends to think you are the gardener." Chidi had only laughed, patting his brother on the back. "Don't worry about me, Obinna. Just study. Become the engineer that will change our name. My own reward is seeing you stand tall." But Mama Obinna would watch them from the kitchen, a sharp, greedy smile on her face. She didn't see Chidi as a son. She saw him as a donkey, a beast of burden meant to carry her golden son to the promised land. She knew that once Obinna reached the top, they would pull up the ladder, and Chidi would be left in the dust of Asaba, forgotten and broken. The day Obinna graduated was supposed to be the proudest day of Chidi's life. In the village, Chidi had bought a small goat and a crate of minerals to celebrate with the neighbors. He walked with his head high, telling everyone, "My brother is now an engineer. The sun has finally risen in our compound." But in Lagos, the story was different. Chidi has sent his last 50,000 naira, money he had borrowed from a local money lender by pledging his father's old bicycle so that Obinna could host a small party for his classmates. When Chidi called to congratulate him, the phone rang for a long time before Obinna picked up. The background was filled with loud music and the clinking of glasses. "Obinna, my brother, congratulations," Chidi shouted, his voice thick with emotion. "Keep it down, Chidi." Obinna's voice was cold, hushed. "I'm with my friends. The dean of the faculty is here. I told them my people are busy with a board meeting in Abuja, so don't call me again tonight. I'll send a text. Click." Chidi stared at the phone. A board meeting? He looked at his tattered slippers and the bowl of plain garri on his table. He felt a sharp pang in his chest, but he shook it off. He's just busy. Chidi whispered to the empty room. Big men have big schedules. 6 months later, Obinna landed a job at a multinational oil firm. The first salary came, and Obinna sent a brand new lace wrapper to his mother and a flat-screen TV. For Chidi, he sent a short message. Brother, Lagos is expensive. I have to look the part. I can't send anything this month. Maybe later. Later never came. One afternoon, while working at the sawmill, a heavy log slipped. Chidi tried to catch it, but his strength failed. The wood crashed onto his leg with a sickening crack. He lay in the sawdust screaming as his world went black. At the hospital, the doctor was blunt. The bone is shattered. If we don't operate now, he will lose the leg. It will cost 200,000 naira. Mama Obinna called her son immediately. She was crying, but it was half theater. Obinna, your brother is dying. The hospital needs money. Obinna's response, captured on the speakerphone for Chidi to hear from his sickbed, was a dagger to the heart. Mama, I just bought a Mercedes. If I take out 200,000 naira now, how will I pay for the insurance? Chidi has been working in that mill for years. Doesn't he have savings? Tell the doctors to wait. Or better yet, take him to a herbalist. Those village bone setters are cheaper. Chidi closed his eyes. The physical pain in his leg was nothing compared to the ice that settled in his soul. He realized then that he hadn't been raising a brother, he had been feeding a parasite. 2 years passed. Chidi didn't lose his leg, but he walked with a permanent heavy limp, a constant reminder of the brother who had abandoned him. He had stopped calling Lagos. He had stopped asking. He simply went back to the earth, starting a small vegetable garden behind the house, moving slowly but with a new quiet determination in his eyes. One morning, the village was buzzing. A convoy of 3 glossy black SUVs drove past the market, kicking up clouds of red dust. They stopped at the town hall. It was Obinna's advance team. They were in town to announce that Obinna was marrying the daughter of a billionaire senator. The wedding is in Lagos, the town crier announced. But Obinna has sent bags of rice and salt to the village to show he has arrived. In the village square, Mama Obinna was dancing, wearing a lace so expensive it looked like spun gold. She looked at Chidi, who was carrying a basket of harvested peppers, and laughed. Chidi, don't come near the rice. My son said this food is for the people who support him, not for village accidents like you. Chidi didn't say a word. That night, he took the small wooden box he kept under his bed. Inside were his savings, every kobo he had scraped together from his vegetable sales. He didn't buy a new shirt. He bought a bus ticket to Lagos. When Chidi got to Lagos, he arrived at the venue of the wedding of the century as the sun was setting. The hotel was a palace of glass and light. Beautiful women in towering head ties and men in flowing white agbadas moved toward the ballroom like a river of wealth. Chidi stood at the entrance, his faded shirt tucked into his trousers, his limp more pronounced after the 12-hour bus ride. He held a small wrapped gift, a hand-carved wooden plaque of their father's face. As he reached the velvet ropes, the bouncers blocked his path. Hey, where do you think you are going? The staff entrance is at the back. I am the groom's brother, Chidi said, his voice calm and steady. I am the first son of his father. The bouncers laughed, but the noise caught the attention of the wedding party. The doors opened, and there stood Obinna. He looked like a prince in his white tuxedo, standing next to his bride, who was draped in emeralds. Obinna's eyes met Chidi's. For a second, pure terror flashed in the groom's eyes. He saw the limp. He saw the feathered clothes. He saw the village that he had spent millions trying to erase. Obinna, Chidi called out, holding up the gift. I came to... Who is this man? Obinna's voice boomed, cutting through the music. He looked at his father-in-law, the senator, who was watching with a raised eyebrow. I told you security was too light. This beggar has been following me from the park since this morning, claiming he knows me to get money. He stepped closer to Chidi, his voice dropping to a hiss that only Chidi could hear. If you don't turn around and vanish, I will call the police and tell them you stole my watch. Get out, you piece of trash. You are ruining my life. Chidi didn't argue. He didn't cause a scene. He simply looked at Obinna, really looked at him and saw a stranger. He placed the hand-carved gift on the floor, turned his back, and limped out of the hotel. As he walked into the Lagos night, the sound of the wedding band playing Joy Overload faded behind him. He didn't go back to the village to cry. He went to the Idomoto Park, but instead of buying a ticket home, he found a job as a night porter, carrying heavy loads for traders. He had nothing left to lose, and a man with nothing is a dangerous man to bet against. Back in the world of the royals, the honeymoon didn't last. 3 years later, the senator's house of cards collapsed. A massive federal investigation revealed that the senator's wealth wasn't from oil, but from diverted public funds meant for hospitals and roads. Because Obinna's name was on the deeds of 3 luxury properties the senator had gifted the couple, the EFCC didn't come with flowers. They came with handcuffs. But I didn't know, Obinna screamed as they hauled him out of his Lekki mansion. I am just the son-in-law. Tell it to the judge, the officer replied, locking the gate and sealing the house with red tape. The senator fled the country. Obinna's wife, who had married a prince, had no interest in being the wife of a prisoner. She packed her jewelry, took their daughter and moved to her mother's family house in London, sending Obinna a divorce petition through a courier. When Obinna was finally released 6 months later, his bank accounts frozen and his reputation in tatters, he found himself standing on the same Lagos pavement where he had once thrown Chidi out. He had no house, no car, and no friends. His mother, back in the village, had been chased out of the bungalow by creditors she had borrowed money from, bragging about her international engineer. Obinna sat on a plastic crate at a roadside buka, eating a single piece of roasted corn. He saw a newspaper on the table. The headline read, Indigenous Giant, Walters Construction wins 5 billion naira bridge contract. Under the headline was a photo of a man standing in front of a fleet of yellow excavators. The man was wearing a hard hat and a bright orange safety vest. He was smiling. Obinna's heart skipped a beat. Even through the grainy newsprint, he recognized the eyes. He recognized the jawline. And then he saw the man's hand resting on a cane. Chidi, he whispered. The corporate headquarters of Walters Construction was a building made of glass and steel, standing tall in the heart of Asaba. It was a symbol of what honest sweat could build. In the lobby, the air conditioning was crisp and the staff moved with purpose. A man walked through the glass doors. He looked like a shadow of a human being. His clothes were dusty, his shoes were worn down to the soles, and his eyes were hollow with the look of a man who hadn't eaten a proper meal in days. It was Obinna. He had spent his last 2,000 naira on a night bus from Lagos, hiding his face in his hood so no one would recognize the great engineer. He approached the receptionist, a young lady with a professional smile. "I am here to see the CEO. I am an engineer. I heard there is a vacancy for a site manager." The receptionist looked him up and down. "Do you have an appointment, sir? The boss is very busy today. He's preparing for the bridge commissioning." "Tell him," Obinna's voice cracked. "Tell him his brother is here." The receptionist paused. "Her bro Furoing. The CEO is an only child, sir. He has said so in every interview. But I will send word that a relative is here." 10 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. A man stepped in. He was dressed in a charcoal grey Italian suit that fit his broad shoulders perfectly. His hair was neatly trimmed, and his skin glowed with the health of a man at peace. He walked with a slight rhythmic limp, the silver head of his walking cane clicking against the marble floor. Obinna fell to his knees right there in the lobby, in front of the security guards and the secretaries. "Chidi, my brother, please. The world has turned against me. They took everything. Mama is in the village crying every night. Please, find a place for me in your company. I am a graduate. I have bright eyes. Remember?" Chidi stopped 3 feet away from him. He didn't reach down to pull him up. He didn't scream. He just looked down at the man on the floor as if he were looking at a stranger's lost luggage. "I remember a doctor at a wedding," Chidi said, his voice deep and calm. "I remember a man who told a senator that I was a beggar who followed him from the park. I remember a man who told my mother to take me to a herbalist when my bone was sticking out of my skin. I was blinded by pride, Chidi. It was the devil," Obinna sobbed, reaching for Chidi's polished shoes. Chidi stepped back, avoiding the touch. "The devil didn't sign those papers, Obinna. You did. You wanted a life without a village brother, and God gave you exactly what you asked for. You are now truly alone." Chidi signaled to his assistant, who handed him a small envelope. "In here is 50,000 naira, Chidi said, dropping the envelope on the floor next to Obinna. "It is the same amount I sent you for your graduation party. The money I borrowed by selling our father's bicycle. Take it. Go back to the village. Take your mother and find a small farm. Work the soil until your hands are as rough as mine were when I was paying your fees. Maybe then you will understand what it means to be a man." "But the job, Chidi, the manager position." Chidi turned his back, the silver cane clicking as he moved toward the elevator. "My company is built on trust and sacrifice. You have neither. I have no brother, Obinna. I only have a memory of a boy I once loved, and that boy died a long time ago." The elevator doors closed. Obinna was left on the marble floor, clutching a small envelope of mercy money while the world watched the golden sun finally hit the bottom. The world is a circle. What you throw forward is what will meet you when you turn the corner. Obinna thought he was too big for the roots that grew him, not knowing that a tree without roots is just firewood waiting for the flame. How many of us have forgotten the people who carried us when we were small? How many of us are ashamed of our village because we have reached the city? Tell me in the comments, did Chidi do the right thing? Or should he have forgiven his brother and given him the job? This is African True Life Tales by Ada. Be careful how you treat people on your way up, because you might just need them on your way down. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Until next time. stay real, stay humble, and stay blessed. Goodbye.